Emily never typically gravitated toward guys like Jake. He was tall and lanky, and though he wasn't that old, the top of his head already showed signs of thinning hair. At first glance, they seemed to have little in common, their interactions limited to casual encounters within their shared friend group. They rarely spent time alone together, until the day everything changed. When Emily found herself in serious trouble, Jake was the only one who stood by her. That experience forged a connection between them stronger than either had anticipated. She came to realize that she couldn't have asked for a better man, while Jake, on the other hand, made small, hesitant efforts to win her heart, convinced she was far beyond his reach. So when Emily actually welcomed his attention and agreed to go out with him, Jake felt like the luckiest man alive. Their relationship escalated quickly, almost too quickly. Just 2 weeks in, Jake invited Emily to move in with him. And within a few months, they walked into City Hall and got married in secret. No announcements, no celebrations, just the two of them. When Jake's mother found out, she was horrified. She pleaded with him to reconsider, warning him about rushing into such a huge commitment. But Jake brushed off her concerns, insisting that nothing mattered more to him than his love for Emily. One evening, as they lounged on the couch watching a new movie, Emily's phone buzzed. "Hey," she said, glancing at Jake. "Sophie just invited me to her birthday party. She rented a place out of town and planned this huge get-together. But you'll be away for work those days, right?" Jake felt a twinge of unease, but masked it well. He'd never been fond of Sophie. He thought she was reckless and too carefree, the type to encourage bad decisions. He feared she might pull Emily into that same impulsive lifestyle. But Jake believed in his wife and trusted her completely, so he gave his blessing for her to go alone. Looking back, he would regret that choice more than anything. Sophie's birthday bash was as extravagant as promised. She was turning 30 and going all out with an American-style party. Booze flowing freely, a pool glistening in the backyard, and a house with enough rooms for guests to slip away into their own private corners. At some point in the night, Sophie grabbed Emily's hand and pulled her toward a young man. "Emily, come meet my co-worker," Sophie said, introducing him. Emily's gaze immediately caught on his sharp features, the shadow of stubble on his jaw, and the way he absent-mindedly ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair. "Hey, I'm Tyler," he said smoothly, offering his hand. Almost instinctively, Emily shook it. Sophie, already distracted, wandered off to mingle, leaving Emily alone with the stranger. Feeling slightly awkward, she sipped her drink, filling the silence between them. "You need another?" Tyler asked when he noticed her cup was empty. Emily simply nodded, and before long, she lost count of how many drinks she'd had. By the 5th glass, a comfortable haze settled over her mind. Tyler's jokes became inexplicably funny, and conversation flowed easily between them. She shared stories, laughed at his, and before she realized it, they had ended up in one of the upstairs bedrooms. Later, she would be stunned at how effortlessly it had happened. But even in the aftermath, a thrill lingered, a rush of something new, something forbidden. After that night, Emily and Tyler exchanged numbers. She didn't bother giving him a different name in her contacts. Jake had never been the type to snoop. He had always trusted her fully. But soon, Jake began to notice a shift. Emily spent more and more time glued to her phone, her fingers constantly typing away. Every so often, she'd chuckle at whatever popped up on the screen. Whenever he casually asked what was so funny, she'd wave it off, claiming it was just the girls in her group chat. This went on for over a month. Though Emily hadn't seen Tyler in person since that fateful night, not a single day passed without them talking. She found herself drawn to their conversations, enchanted by the attention of this charming man. Meanwhile, Sophie kept pushing for updates, dropping hints that she had wanted to set Emily up with someone more suitable than Jake for quite some time. Emily never protested. Her mind was already too consumed with thoughts of Tyler, while her husband faded into background. She even started rejecting Jake's attempt at intimacy, a rejection that cut him deeper than she could imagine. One evening, while Emily was in the shower, Jake noticed her phone resting on the charger. He hesitated, telling himself he shouldn't invade her privacy, that trust was the foundation of their marriage. But an uneasy feeling gnawed at him, and despite his inner conflict, curiosity won. He entered the passcode he knew by heart. The first conversation that caught his attention was with Sophie. As he skimmed through the messages, certain phrases leaped off the screen. Sophie blatantly admitted she wanted Emily to end up with someone better than Jake. His heart pounded as he read further. A cold sensation spread through his chest. The more he scrolled, the more everything pointed to the painful truth. Emily had been unfaithful. She had slept with someone else and was still in contact with him. Then, right in that moment, a new notification flashed across the top of the screen. A message from someone named Tyler. Jake didn't need to think twice. He knew exactly who that was. His hands tightened around the phone as he opened their chat. His stomach churned as he scanned through the messages, flirty exchanges, suggestive comments, and pictures that made his blood boil. A sharp pang of jealousy hit him. Emily had never sent him anything like this, even though he had teased her about it more than once. "What are you doing?" Emily's startled voice broke through his thoughts. He had been so absorbed in reading that he hadn't heard the shower turn off or notice her approaching. Jake turned to face her, anger and betrayal burning in his eyes. He held up the phone. "What is this?" he demanded, showing her the messages with Tyler. Emily's expression twisted in panic. She lunged to the phone, but Jake, being taller, easily kept out of her reach. His voice was firmer now. "Tell me the truth." Deep down, he already knew what had happened, but he needed to hear it from her. Emily's fingers fidgeted with the belt of her robe as she swallowed hard. And then the confession spilled out. Everything about Tyler, Sophie's party, an emotion she hadn't been able to shake since that night. Tears streamed down her face as she insisted she didn't know how it had gone so far, that if she could, she'd erase it all and start over. Jake was silent for a long time. He finally told her he needed time to think. But even after days of soul-searching, he realized the damage was irreversible. No matter how hard he tried to suppress the pain, no matter how much he wished he could forgive, the betrayal had left a wound too deep to heal. Emily had never truly seen him as more than a friend. He realized. Maybe that's why it had been so easy for her to cross the line and destroy everything they had built. And so he made the hardest decision of his life. Divorce. Emily stayed with Sophie for a couple of weeks before moving in with Tyler. At first, she convinced herself it was the right choice. Tyler was exciting, spontaneous, everything she thought she wanted. But reality hit fast. The charming, confident man from their texts wasn't the same person she now lived with. Tyler was bold, sometimes outright disrespectful, and had a dangerous habit of drinking too much. The first time he lost control, she brushed it off as a bad night. The second time, she felt a twinge of fear. The third time, when his anger turned on her, she didn't wait for a fourth. Emily packed a bag and left. Alone now, she rented a small apartment, struggling to make ends meet without Jake there to take care of her. Nights became the hardest. She'd curl up in bed, clutching her pillow, tears soaking into the fabric as she wished she could turn back time. But it was too late. Her reckless choices had cost her everything. The life she and Jake had built together was gone, shattered by a mistake she could never undo.